And that's what we're going to talk about. And if you remember that metaphor of the pilot of the airplane at the beginning, you will recall we're talking about three main things here. We're talking about making ongoing decisions and changing the way we think, basically executing innovation in a different way, and third, being more human. We're talking about that. And therefore, these are the three big pillars that I'm going to talk about today, starting from what I call this cognitive transformation, right? And it's a transformation about the way that we think about business and about marketing. I'd like to start off asking if anyone knows how Polaroid was invented. So basically it was invented in 1944 through a provoking question by, a 4-year-old child. She asked his dad in 1944, "Dad, can I see the picture you just took?" And her dad is like, "There's no such technology for that. This is a stupid question." But eventually he got so intrigued by this possibility that he created this technology. He was Edwin Land, famous founder of Polaroid, and I want you to reflect on this. Do you think any adult would have made this question? Any expert would have asked something like that? No. And you know why? Because they already knew the answer. And we make this mistake every time, every day, because we look at the past in order to make decisions about the future, and this is not working because if we look at aerospace industry, one of the biggest beliefs was that there was such a big bottleneck that was the cost of the rocket, because every launch you have to throw that rocket away until, again, Elon Musk and SpaceX shows that yes, rockets can land. And there is no such a stupid question or too of a stupid question that you just shouldn't ask, because they basically point us to directions where no one is looking for and where basically innovation lies. Without fear of judgment, Jack Ma says, "I like stupid things as long as they solve big problems." And you know one advantage is that most of the people don't look there because they're fearful of being judged. So to start off, when we think about the way that marketers should think now and in the future, it's not about being an expert about marketing. It's about being the opposite. I want you to ask you to have a beginner's mind and try to look at everything that you believe, all your beliefs, all your experience, and do not use them as your roof, but as a starting point for a everyday questioning if you are changing yourself at the speed that the external world is changing, at the speed that your customer is changing, at the speed that technology is changing. Because if not, it's just doing the math. It's inevitable. We're gonna go and lag behind and behind. So that's the first cognitive transformation that we need. We need a beginner's mind that basically constantly defies beliefs in the industry that you're in. And look, I've spent 5 years at Tinder managing Latin America, and I can say we had this beginner's mind at Tinder where we were constantly defying what was wrong with the traditional online dating industry, and we had great success. But once you have success, the risk is that you want to start protecting that success, and you also start believing that it will last forever. And then one competitor came in, Bumble. And Bumble made just a small, slight change. When I looked at it first, and I was like, this is not going to change anything. This is not going to affect us. Basically, that girls are in charge and are the only one able to send the first message after a match. It was a minor change, but it showed a beginner's mind. It showed a questioning, one of those like thought experiments that Tony Hsieh from Zappos used to use all the time. It's like, what if girls can improve their experience by having the power to decide to go right first? Result? We all know Bumble IPO'd at the beginning of this year, and Whitney Wolf, who is a former Tinder employee, became the youngest self-made woman billionaire in the world. So that's thanks to this first pillar of transformation of the marketer, of the businessman, of the entrepreneur, in a digital world, which is a beginner mindset that is more flexible, that always asks critical questions, and that is able to use this adaptability to make ongoing quick decisions under asymmetric information. But we know this is not enough. We have to step up and basically take the decisions that we make and implement them without fear of mistakes, and understanding that a mistake can provide us feedback to scale, right? So that's the second big pillar. It's a behavioral transformation. It's an execution transformation. I call it a maker's attitude of constantly prototyping, experimenting, and having risk tolerance, and understanding mistakes are part of the innovation process. But that's actually what we usually forget about. Clayton Christensen would talk about, from Harvard Business School, would talk about the innovator's dilemma. That we always have clear where we want to go and what's the innovation that we need in our industry company, but we don't implement it. We don't execute on it. Why? Basically because innovation and reinvention is inherently not efficient. It's, costly. It's frustrating because it involves mistakes. It takes us out of the comfort zone. It can cannibalize a little bit of our business. So basically, we don't pursue it. Although it's clear in our PowerPoints that we have to go in that direction. So what to do then? How we can overcome that? Disney showed they've been able to do that with Disney Plus. Disney Plus is something that on a business plan would not make any sense. Disney was earning a lot of money licensing their content to Netflix until 2019. But then they took the decision to go direct to consumer. And everybody on Wall Street was like, no, this is crazy. Why? Giving up revenues, sure revenues, in order to, believe that some innovation will happen. Eventually, there was a great choice. These are actually not up-to-date data, but now there are over 100 million users. And this is great. This is the top priority project within Disney now. They overcame the innovator's dilemma. And that's basically the role of the marketer, always looking at the future and always experimenting. There's a great book by Larry Bossidy and Ram Charan called Execution. And there's this quote where they say, execution provides the feedback loop needed in order for your business to adjust to external changes. What does this mean? If we don't test and learn, and if we don't execute, we basically will stay behind. We basically will not be able to get the feedback that we need from smart mistakes to basically scale what's working and leave aside. If we just follow our process, we build habits and routines, we don't get this feedback, right? And digital helps us a lot in this situation. What are the advantages of digital within the marketing world? Of course, it helps us increase the frequency of touch points with our customer, with the market. The more touch points, we collect more data and information. And with more data and information, we're able to design what we can call smart mistakes that, Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson calls smart mistakes. Are mistakes that are designed, they are pilots, they're experiments that point us to a direction. And philosophically and, in a mindset way, smart mistakes are at the basis of what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility. Because if we don't learn by mistakes, we can be resilient, which means getting back to normal, but we cannot improve, which is anti-fragility. Only if we learn through voluntary mistakes, we're able to scale. We're able to improve. We're able to change. And if we get back to the metaphor at the beginning, we get to our third big pillar. We can't do anything of this without collaboration, without an emotional transformation, without us being more human than before, because many of our skills are being substituted by AI and technology, which, it's no secret, they do it better than us. Calculations, memory, and everything. You cannot compete with them. But we can compete on this, on hard. We're better at that. And to start off, I want to show a case of a company that most of you know, Domino Pizza. Domino's in 2009 was at the brink of failure. And consumers were, basically shouting about, the pizza had, tasted like cardboard and then Patrick Doyle was promoted as CEO. And the first thing that Patrick Doyle as a CEO did, launched a campaign called Pizza Turnaround, where one of these, the quotes was, failure is an option. And he shot a video where he listed all the failures that he had until he got to a CEO. And this created this vulnerability, this humanization of the leader, created a movement within Domino's where people were not afraid anymore to experiment and share their successes and their failures. And Domino's started to experiment and grow and grow and grow through innovation that basically their stock value increased 1,800%, and now they've been listed by Fast Company as one of the most innovative companies in the world, with more than 60% of their sales in the US coming from digital orders. This humanization of marketing, humanization of business, especially important in a digital world. So if we don't do that as leaders and as marketers, we're not able to build what Simon Sinek would call circle of safety. That's intangible space within companies, especially intangible because now we're all working remote, but where we feel safe to experiment, to learn, and to share our failures so that we can really focus on what we need, on our work. There's a great case by a president, a CEO of a big company in Brazil called Natura. And João Paulo Ferreira did something during the crisis, which was blocking every Natura's employee agenda at lunch. And at first, when everybody received it, was like scared, oh my God, I'm gonna have a meeting with the president every day now on at lunchtime? And eventually they opened the invite and it was like, hey guys, don't forget to have lunch, to have a pause, to basically step aside from, that crazy routine that we all had during the pandemic. What he did something that cost zero to the company, but the impact was invaluable. The impact was creating this circle of safety and showing that the company cared for them. And the same thing applies for us with our customers. When we do something proactively for them, they will remember. Especially in a world of abundance of inputs, informations, where we constantly ask for people to buy things and to download stuff. If we're able to do something different that really connects with them and solves a problem, we're able to connect better. So to wrap it up, I want to ask you, based on what I said, is the 10,000 hours rule by Malcolm Gladwell right in this world? For who doesn't know, it's a rule that says that we have to repeat something and train something for 10,000 hours to become one of the best in the world. So that the question is, should we all become specialists in such a word? Such a complex and multifaceted word. I love Malcolm Gladwell, but unfortunately I'm not agreeing with him on this. I think there's a huge opportunity cost when we train repeatedly like a robot and becoming specialists. Because if we do, then we're not going to be different with AI or the technologies that we adopt, that we train, and that we use, right? And that we develop. So the answer is no. We don't want to just repeat and look at our marketing careers in a linear manner, but like in a non-linear way, where we basically outsource to technology the more transactional side, and where we basically take ownership of what makes us human. Emotional intelligence, so redefining our intelligence not only based on IQ, but based on emotional intelligence and developing those soft skills that I like to call human skills. That's basically my call to action for you to reinvent your marketing career now. Here's a QR code for who would like to continue following my content. Most of them, unfortunately, are in Portuguese. But that's basically my speech. And I really, really want you to take these micro actions and start now. Thanks a lot. And Toby, the word is with you.
Andrea, thank you so much. That was fantastic. What a great presentation. It was packed with just so much insight. I was particularly interested. There's three things that kind of stood out for me, and unfortunately a little bit short of time, so I only really have like one question, but it really builds on a lot of what you were talking about. So three things that stood out to me. Number one, this idea of the beginner mindset. Two, how important it is to make smart mistakes. And then number three, this idea that failure is an option. I'm curious, how do you apply these ideas to your work specifically?
It's a great question, Toby, and thanks for this. So basically, I like to think about my work and, following what we can call, and Jim Collins calls 20 miles marches. So every day having clear what are the micro steps that bring us closer to your objectives. Of course, long-term objectives are very important, but when we look at this very unpredictable world, very complex, we're not just able to forecast how it will look like in the future and form clear goals. So rather, I'd focus on the short term and constantly get a feedback and adjust and pivot and scale what works and not scale what doesn't work. And so basically, I really like that concept by Jim Collins of 20 miles marches. And so every day, everyone that is in the audience, try to have clear what is the micro action, micro step that you want to take initiative upon, experiment now, and get the feedback from.
Fantastic. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Toby.